Jordan, how you going?
All right. I have nothing to report. Does anyone? Do you?
No, not really. I got fined the other day
What do you do?
driving without a registration.
What?
I just, yeah,
That's really illegal.
I completely forgot. I thought I paid my rego last year. I even did the pink slip. That's how stupid I am.
I don't know what the slips are.
So
What's
the
the
pink
pink
slip
one?
is you need to get it checked out by a mechanic before you can renew the registration. And I did that. But then I forgot to pay the
Another
rego.
two parts, yeah.
And then I didn't have CTP either. So that was actually really dangerous.
Yeah, that
so I
did.
copped a big fine. And look, understandably so, I deserve that.
I know.
So,
No walking out of that.
yeah, that's what happened to me.
Dude, come on, tell us.
recently.
How much was it?
Each of
Set
them
us
were
an
like
example of
680. So, yeah, close to
Each?
1,400. Yeah. And then I had to get a blue slip is what you have to get to re-register the car. And then the mechanic found an oil leak or something. I don't know if they were trying to dog me there. I've no way of picking it up
Yeah,
though.
because you're not in a position
I don't
to
know
negotiate.
anything about cars.
No.
They showed me, they put it up on the, see, I don't even know what that's called, but the thing to
The
make,
thing that goes...
yeah, the thing that makes, that
sound.
brings the car off the ground. and then underneath, yeah, they looked like there was a bit of a leak. So I trusted them.
Yeah,
so
but-
I had to pay for that part being replaced, which was like another $300. And then the blue slip itself was $100 or something. And then the registration was like $400. So it's just, yeah, big mistake on my part. But look, not the end of the world.
Yeah, but it really is just like a young man in an adult's world, isn't it? One careless mistake.
I know, right?
Just as your dad always warns you. Look, bam, $1,500.
That's it.
Think about that, eh?
Yeah.
All you had to do was think a little bit more, mate.
Yeah,
Pretty disappointed in your deal.
I don't know how I did that. I missed
I don't
all the
know
letters.
either.
I missed all the letters. They gave me all these warning letters, but all my letters were piling up last year and I wasn't checking them. And for some reason, I
Dude,
thought
I
that
always
it
thought you were
auto-renewed.
way more responsible than that. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, I know. It's so out of character for me.
Is it?
Yeah, I'd never do something that's stupid. Well,
I mean,
here
the
you go.
pile of letters. Oh, I do exactly the same thing.
Hmm.
But I would expect that of myself. You, on the other hand, that is really out of character.
No, I had a big pile of letters and documents. It just got too much for me.
Too emotionally overwhelming. Yeah.
That's sad, isn't it? But
No, that happens.
no, I kept saying, all
I'll
right,
look
I'll
at it
organize
later.
them all in a week. I'll organize them all in 2 weeks. And then I just didn't think there was, I don't know, I completely just forgot. Anyway,
Because it's the
I was with
stress
a
of
girl.
looking at that pile.
I was with a girl when the police stopped me and they're like, are you aware you're driving a car that isn't registered? And I said, wait, no, should have been registered in October. And it said, nope, that's when it ran out. And then I was sure it was a mistake. But no, check my bank records and
No.
forgot.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, I deserve
Yeah,
that.
who
fine.
did know that the guy that has a machine that basically says it for him was right?
Yeah.
I can't believe... Look, what did the woman think about that, though? Was she impressed by your convict credentials?
Yeah, I was joking about, hey, look, I'm a bad boy. Hey, just got stopped by the cops.
Yeah, but for
I think it was
the
fun.
worst
Look,
reason.
things are going well with her at the moment, so I think I was fine.
Unscathed out of it. That's
Yeah,
very good.
yeah. I didn't get all scared about it or anything like that.
What do you think's more badass to a chick?
Maintain my frame.
Yeah, that's true.
if you
Yeah.
will.
Not a boy deal.
Yeah.
What do you think's more badass? Being drunk, caught DUI, or no rego? Because you know what? Actually, you can skew
DUI,
no rego.
obviously.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
There's nothing badass about what I did.
Not particularly what you did.
Especially because I didn't do that on purpose. Maybe if I'd done it on purpose, that would be a bit, a bit more badass. But I just genuinely made a mistake.
And an otherwise law-abiding citizen, if you're a fugitive,
Oh yeah,
that's pretty bad.
yeah.
But no, like
there were no
like
bodies
a
in my
squeaky
car.
clean man. No,
There was nothing I had to
yeah,
hide.
there was a living body there.
And then I got the police. I was filming this is a funny story. I was filming a sketch last weekend, and the sketch is drunk Aussies catching Uber. So it's just me and the cameraman, and I'm playing all the different characters in the Uber, including drunk girls. So I had a wig on. We're in this car park. It's 10, 11 p.m. at night. It's really dark. No one's out, obviously,
Yeah.
because of self-isolation and just because it's a park at 11 p.m. at night. And we're just in the middle there. He's got a camera. There's one light. I'm just there doing all these characters. There's clothes all over the place. I'm in a wig. This car comes up next to us, and it was just a normal car. But then the siren went off, and policeman got out, and he was like, "What are you guys up to tonight?" And we were just like, "Oh, filming a sketch." And he's like, "Okay, well, I guess that is work."
Yeah.
And then he's like,
Got
"So
you there,
what's the
officer."
sketch about?"
Mm.
And I was like, "Oh, it's about some people getting in an Uber." And he's like, "Okay. Well, I guess we're pretty busy tonight, so just be quick."
Let you slide.
Yeah.
Well, actually, on top of that, he really didn't have anything on you as well.
It's work.
Even though, yeah, but
Technically work.
yeah.
It's actually my work. And it was two of us.
I mean, it is irrefutable.
So we're not breaking the law there.
Hey, you're right.
There you go.
You were on the borderline.
Yeah. Yeah, we're, one more person and we're done, but no, we're
Yeah,
good.
I really...
Thanks for these M&Ms, by the way. What's the occasion?
And the occasion was I just got one of those soda streamers, like I think 80% of the country at Christmas, and tried to get some bloody bubbly stuff. Carbon dioxide, that's the gas. And I tried to get it, and then the guy just spent, this is why I'm like half an hour late, he spent half an hour shuffling around his little office space looking for the keys. And then at the end I said, can I just have store credit? Hence, the only time I have contributed anything nice to this in this like half-year pod's history. That's the
Thank you.
story.
About time. Nearly 1 year, actually. Got it wrong.
Is it?
Yeah.
Fuck. Sunrise,
I think
sunset,
we started in August. Actually,
dude, that's not
that's
nearly.
closer to the 6 months than 1 year, yeah.
It's like just
All right.
like
All
Easter.
right, you got me. I'm just gonna
And
add
deservedly
this.
so.
There we
What are
go.
you doing with that? Oh, thank you very much.
But other than that, nothing to report.
No. But, you know, like, fairly eventful stuff, I got to say. Like,
Yeah.
quite a few brush-ins with law for 1 week.
in the space of a week, yeah. Damn.
But I suppose a lot of it is kind of just very 12-year-old dystopic book, though, isn't it? It's just like all these, like, curfews that didn't exist just a month ago. And, I mean, registration was always, that was always bad. But
Yeah.
one of those.
Still a nanny state move, though.
Yeah.
The government's got to know what car you're driving.
Yeah. What the hell's that about? They just do it for money. Fuck.
Yeah, actually,
As soon
why
as you
do
start
they-
talking about cars, it gets very boomer, doesn't it?
What do you need to... What's the... If no one registered their car and people just drove around, what would be the... Like, what would actually be the problem there?
Dude, even though I know anybody who actually works at Roads and Maritime would just be yelling at their screens at the moment, they ain't in the room. Nothing. There'd be no
damn
difference
right.
whatsoever. It's
Yeah.
all just a scam.
Exactly.
What are you going to say about it?
Dog
Your
meme,
comment will get maybe one like because you work at Roads and Maritime, but that's like one step up from being a parking officer. Everyone hates them.
And they probably don't even agree with the laws that they enact.
No, of course not. Probably not, man. Like
I guess it's to catch
just
criminals, isn't it?
Huh?
Is it to catch criminals? If someone's on the run, then you can find
that
their
might be a useful
vehicle.
offset of it. Yeah, but I think it's mostly revenue. Look, again, it's a really ignorant opinion. I'm sure there's heaps of reasons.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah, of course.
Just
Well, yeah, you would be.
I
And if I
agree,
was you, I would be with me too.
No, I because I did the wrong thing clearly, so I deserve the fine. But the law itself, the registering, like, why does it cost that much anyway? Each year, I don't know. It registers like 100 and something each year, isn't it? It might be more than that. I can't even remember.
You know what I actually do think, and I really don't have an issue with this. It's just that if you're a state government, what are your revenue streams? It's kind of the same as local council. What have they got apart from council rates and fining people for parking around too long if your suburb's popular? So good
True.
luck Mount Druitt. They're just you can't charge for that, you know? But when it comes to
Opal
state...
cards. When you pay for public transport, I'm sure when
No.
there's like 3 people on the bus, they're making a profit there.
exactly. That is just an extended version of the JobKeeper package at this point, seeing that one sad bus driver with no one in it. Everyone knows what's going on there. It's basically just one of those characters in Brave New World that's just pushing buttons because they figure out that society's happier if they just push the button.
Wow.
Bleak.
Sorry, any bus drivers. I guess. Look, if they've designed the roads, maybe that's why. Maybe they need some money for that. Anyway, don't get too caught up on this.
Yeah, I suppose.
The reasons for registering your car. Tackling the big issues.
I know. But dude, you know what my girlfriend pointed out about this podcast? It's so true. This should just be called Grasping at Straws with Neil and Jordan. It really is just us, like, just saying, like, what do you think, why do you think birds exist? Probably just, like, no, like, bird's eye view would be pretty sick. Yeah, I suppose so. Like, that's the whole thing. It's just like covering. But, like, I've got no issue with that.
And we somehow related to either picking up or politics.
Yeah, either of those. That's the
generally
choose your own adventure part.
I go down the picking up route.
Every time. As I would expect.
You go down to the politics route.
But yeah, what do you
Well,
do
we
you have
still
a
have
topic?
listeners.
Yeah, I don't know how, but there you go.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Good for you.
What's wrong with you?
It's a legitimate question. You should be reflecting on that in your own time. But for now, we're going to waste your time with Roads and Maritime Service music. Dude, what do you have a topic that you wanted to discuss today?
Yeah, what is Australian culture?
Okay, that's a good one. It's very art studenty. Let's dive into it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't want to talk about it in an art student way.
Well, how are you going to do it?
Like in a wanky way. I don't know.
I don't
Probably
know
a
what
lot of art students that listen to it.
I don't even know what they say anymore. Like
I
don't know.
actually don't either.
I can't remember what the upshot of it was, but I remember just saying that, like, dude, you know what I really think is just a cornerstone of Australian society? Taking the piss. That has to be up there. And you know what? I think that is the one of the main... What?
British people do that.
That's true as well.
And we did... Well, Australia was just a colony of Britain for a very long time. You know what? I think... I was doing a podcast with... the Uncommon podcast with Luke and Lewis today. And I said Australians...
Is that called the Uncommon Podcast?
Yeah.
I was on it. There you go.
Yeah.
But shout out, boys.
It's pretty common.
Yeah, okay.
No.
At ease.
What did I say?
Fight us.
We don't take anything seriously except sport. If there was one
so
sentence
true.
to sum up Australian culture,
Oh my god.
we're lax about everything except sport.
Fuck. And even them, I think you're gonna have to educate me on this. The hierarchy of sports you can pay out. Obviously, soccer's up for grabs. Everyone knows that's the girliest football code there is. That's fine. I think football codes, to the people that follow them, that is the primo defense. Like, it's just sacrilege to attack those. And I think cricket is below that. I think on certain instances you can pay cricket out. But I remember once seeing, he was actually quite a big comedian in the 90s that used to do like the Melbourne Comedy Festival gala. And he came on.
Who was it?
Fuck, I can't even remember his name now. But I remember back in the day, it was kind of like one of those Danny Boy figures where you were just like, where did this guy come from? And how is he cramming out 2,000 people a night at the Enmore? He was quite big in the 90s.
Okay.
He went on the Melbourne Comedy Festival gala, and you know they only have 3 minutes. 1.5 minutes of that he thought would be a good idea to start making fun of AFL. Look, the Melbourne Comedy Festival gala audience is easier to please than like a canned laughter track on Everybody Loves Raymond. Like they're just shooting fish in a barrel, that audience. Like there is a lot of shit that I look at on that and I just think, no, that should be a silent audience for that. That was objectively horrible. 10 out of 10 laughs. Soon as he made fun of sport, I've never seen anything like it happen before. Dead silence.
Wow. And those are the
Dead
people,
silence.
those are the artistic types that
Exactly.
have gone to see comedy. Yeah, but in Melbourne, in Victoria, well, everywhere except New South Wales and Queensland, AFL is a religion.
Yeah.
Like, we like rugby league and rugby, but nothing compared to the other states in AFL.
But
They
Queensland
are obsessed.
But Queensland likes NRL as much as
Yeah.
AFL. Dude, they are mad for it.
They are, yeah.
No.
Even then, I don't think they're as obsessed as Victorians with AFL. Like, they are insane.
And I don't know why. There's a really weird code down there of just like all these artsy people still in skinny leg jeans despite the fact they're in their 30s and fat now. And
they
liking
love the-
that.
yeah, and
Yeah,
they love
liking
the
St
footy.
Kilda.
Yeah.
What the... Like, okay, you let us know that in the comments. I think that's definitely true. Why it's so
Do either of us,
defensive.
I don't read the comments on this.
Don't you?
No.
I very rarely do. Then one of the comments pisses me off, and I think better just stop there.
Yeah. I read I read DMs on Instagram for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I don't ever read YouTube comments.
Just get one of. If you
There's
ever
no
wanna
girls
contact
flirting with
Neil,
me there.
Yeah. Just start one of those bot accounts, and he will respond.
Imagine that. Look, I'm a brown guy. What do you want me to do?
No, that's dude. It's very understandable.
But I want to. What I'm interested in is how are we different to Americans and how are we different to the British and even Kiwis? I think we're most. You know what it is? I think the middle and upper class in Australia are most like the British, but our lower class is and working class is more like the American working class.
What about Cockneys? And Irish.
Yeah, but just the don't you think like because when you in the UK, right? If you're working class, you still live in this tiny little terrace house or whatever. You never go out. You never. But like Australian culture is so outdoorsy, and constantly going out, going overseas, going on holidays. Americans, I feel like are a bit more like that. They're just going out hunting,
But
fishing,
that's
doing things
yes,
like that.
Yeah.
I guess that doesn't define the culture, but that's just something I
That's an aspect of it.
found.
All of them are into drinking. Everywhere across the planet's into it. Everyone and they all think they're the biggest drinkers.
I think English are the biggest drinkers.
Out
They
of them anyway.
drink insane amounts.
No, okay, come on, Irish. And they would not like to be
Fair.
equated
I've
with-
never been to Ireland, but yeah, I assume.
And also their beer's strong AF.
Yeah, the more depressing the country is, the more you're going to drink.
I think
So
so.
Australians think we
And
drink
fuck all
for-
to do.
We drink because we're happy. We're like, oh, sick! I just spent a day at the beach. I'll have a beer. Whereas English people are like, oh, fuck me! It's been like
Escape.
2 months of rain. I need fucking 5 pints right now.
And also, I live in a shitty terrace that's been around since 1500 AD. And it's damp. Anyway, sorry. it does freak me out thinking
Sorry,
about how
British
most people
people.
live. But dude, like, sorry, your life is worse. You should have made the jump in the 1800s.
Yeah, how
you had your
ironic.
chance.
This was the prison,
Yeah.
and it became
Way
paradise.
better. I'd rather live in the shit kicker parts of Australia, like, no offense, the Gold Coast, than anywhere in London or
Is that even a shit kick? Like what?
not shit kicker, but shit.
It's
Like,
because
I really hate the Gold
it's
Coast.
just because of the boomers, but the lifestyle looks good.
Yeah,
Near the beach, it's cheap.
if you're into like gross Vegas lifestyle, yes, the Gold Coast is mad
That's
for you.
me.
Would you like that? Just be like, yeah, I'm going out to the
No, I thought about
and I'm going to the strip
yeah,
club.
but like Gold Coast sluts aren't gonna go for me. You know, they're gonna go for some like roided up
Footy
footy jockey. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, you dude. If you're in the Gold Coast and you are a footy player, that's just an all access pass, isn't it?
Yeah. I'd definitely rather the Gold Coast over Brisbane.
No.
Yeah.
Dude,
Brisbane
Brisbane's my
just feels-
favorite city.
It just feels dull. Granted, I haven't spent a long period of time there. Every time I've done shows there, and this is no look, I've got a great audience in Brisbane, and the shows are always fantastic. But
They are
like,
a good crowd.
yeah, they're a really good crowd. Brisbane and Perth, I found are like the best
Yeah,
crowds.
yeah.
But like just going out there and just the vibe of the city, I don't know. It feels kind of it doesn't feel like a major world city like Sydney or Melbourne, but it doesn't have any sort of nice close community feel to it either. It's sort of this intermediary city.
Okay, well, I suppose Adelaide does have that over that. When that is just like
I'd rather
Dubbo
Brisbane than
on
Adelaide.
roids. So pretty much it just goes in terms of population for you. Oh no, you said that you
Gold
go for
Coast.
the Gold
I
Coast.
go to Sydney.
That's right.
Gold Coast number 2.
Number 2.
Yeah. And
Holy
Perth,
shit,
Perth
Neil.
number 3. Then Melbourne.
Oh, that's such a controversial list to me. Melbourne, look, Melbourne would be at the bottom of the barrel for me. Can't handle it. I don't like feeling like a rat in a maze. Not for me.
So it's just it's just the geography and the construction of it.
Yeah, like, don't you hate how you just go around Melbourne and it's kind of just this thing of like, where the fuck am... Like, I've been to Melbourne maybe 100 days of my life at this point.
Uh-huh.
I don't know anything about it still. I like about Sydney how it's so poorly planned that you have to navigate like an Aboriginal before settlement did, right? Like just being like, that rock over there, you know what I mean? Like, that's how
That's
you navigate
exactly the
through
same.
Sydney. Yeah, I know, it is.
Sure.
It's the same shit now.
Going around Sydney's like going on walkabout.
Dude, I swear there's like, don't you think that happens in Sydney? That like everything kind of just looks different, so you can, you don't need to know streets. You can kind of just be like, yeah, that stupid, dumb 80s architecture house. I know where I'm at. No?
No, I've never had that experience.
Well,
Melbourne
what about
is very
Melbourne?
well planned. It's all a
Yes.
grid, which is kind of dull in a way.
I
But
mean, I hate how it's just flat and it's like, what are your options there? You can eat cheesecake? Sick. And it's overpriced. The culture
a
of
lot
Melbourne
more
is
bars and
consuming.
there's a lot more.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think if you're like in your 20s and you're single, it's probably a better city. Depending on what
That's
you
true.
want.
That's
depending
true.
on, I'm just assuming average Aussie in their 20s.
No,
Probably
that...
prefer Melbourne.
Yeah, look, if you're really into getting hammered and cheese boards, yes, Melbourne's for you. And so's Hobart, actually, now that I think about it.
Hobart.
Yeah, but that's... Okay.
Cheese boards in Hobart. Is that
yes,
a thing?
dude. Yes. You've been there, right?
Yeah, I've never had a cheese board in Hobart.
I'm pretty sure what happens is when you're in your 20s in Melbourne, you live there, you go into your 30s, you, for some reason, lose all your hair if you're a male in Melbourne. Something about being a new male or whatever. You get those shitty square glasses. You get very scared of saying any opinions whatsoever. And then in your 40s, you start migrating down to Hobart. That's the pilgrimage of people from Melbourne.
I've never heard of this trend.
You don't know about
Melbourne
boomers
to
going down
Hobart.
to Hobart.
No.
Every trendy, what would have been a hipster in the 80s, whatever they were called back then, punks or whatever, I guess. I don't know. Those people are now in Hobart. They
Really?
love that place.
What do they like about it?
Because it's just... Dude, I think people, Australians from the upper class, just like 3 things actually, and that's why they put like Monet down there. They like pretending that they like art. I don't even know if they do. They like wine and they like cheese. And that's all Hobart has.
Is that because? But is that more the like hipster ones? Because
Yeah.
a lot of Aussie boomers they'd be like, fucking wine, fuck off, mate.
No, Aussie
I want
boomers,
a
I
beer,
think.
mate.
Yes. And no, but you know what they do? They...
Go to the Gold Coast. That's where I want to go. No.
No, they don't do, not when they're boomers. When they're like old, they go to the Gold Coast. When they
So
retire.
there are a lot of retirees on the Gold Coast.
But if you're rich enough to have one of those bullshit laptop jobs and you're a boomer, right? Because now, our generation, a lot of people just have that job. But if you were part of
Yeah.
that other generation, you were like educated and upper class, and those people are just like, I feel like a tree change. There's two places. There's Byron Bay and there's Hobart. Those are the places they go. It depends if you just like the cold or not, or the beach. That's really what I think it goes down to. I think that if you're, and like what you were saying before, I think if you're like lower class Australian, this is what you do as a boomer. You pay off your house.
You go to the Central Coast.
Yeah. Well, you might just do that anyway, just to buy a house. But that's all
Yeah.
they're obsessed with is just having a 3-bedroom house. That's
Is that
you
such a
haven't
bad
fulfilled
thing,
your
though?
life, huh?
Isn't that a decent goal to have?
Yeah, it's
Like part.
It's quaint.
It's that should be part of your goals.
It should be
Because
part
so
of your
many
goals.
people say, "Oh, I just the idea of living in suburbia terrifies me." Why?
No, I like
be
the idea.
nice.
Me too.
Just having a house with a few kids, hot missus.
hot-ish.
Yeah,
And
as hot as you can get when.
as hot as you can
You
get.
know, because look, I'm not Brad Pitt. I get it.
Hot-ish.
And then have your career goals as well.
But I don't think they have. This is the thing. I think that like lower class Australians probably don't put an importance on career goals. I really think they put an importance on buying a house and renovating it. That's
Because there's
their goals
something
in
really
life.
fulfilling about renovating and just improving the space where you live.
Yeah, I get it.
It's great.
Yeah. No, that's. I fully understand why they want to do it.
They never have existential crises. They're just comfortable,
No.
nice people.
Nah.
Whereas all the upper class people are like, I don't know what I want in life.
Hmm.
I'm 35. What do I want?
But really, at the end of the day, I think that both of those goals are kind of just different sorts of being self-absorbed. It's just that one's like a dumber form of self-absorbed and another one's more wanky self-absorbed.
Is it?
Dude, don't you reckon
Depends
it's
how
like,
you-
I'm
depends-
going to make my house look mad.
Well,
It's
depends.
just-
It depends if you're trying to compete with the other people on your street or whatever. Then that's a bit self-absorbed. But otherwise, I just want to improve, build nice things, construct. That's a very
I think it is just why.
fulfilling thing.
Yeah.
You know? But I guess there's all those shows like The Block and all that. That's makes a competition
The
out of it.
highest rated show as well
Yeah.
of the year. But like, yeah, look, yeah, it's not necessarily the idea of it. I think that it's just, I think that's culturally where Australia's at. It makes sense when you're watching shows. What are the highest rating shows in Australia? The Block, Maths, Q&A. Q&A is where all the wankers go to watch and just watch, like, I don't
Was
know,
Q&A
basically
one
private schoolers debate.
Is that high? Does that rate well?
Actually, I don't know about it anymore, but I do remember, at least when it first started out, it was getting 2 million viewers. Maybe it's at
Wow.
a million. And that's amazing, isn't it?
For what a lot of people would say is an intellectual show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Inverted commas.
fantastic for Australia.
And I think it will, like, that market, which I guess we probably shouldn't pay out too much because that's most of our ticket sales when we go to Melbourne. But
No, fuck them. They need to know.
no.
Maybe you, but not me.
Harsh
I don't know
truth
if
with
I have
Neil
Q&A.
Jordan.
Oh, I do get some, I think. Oh, he's brown. We should be inclusive and watch him. Oh, I didn't like his
Does that have
comedy,
it?
but he was brown. No, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. Just, I would hate that if it did.
But surely when you go to Melbourne, it's a different crowd to the rest of Australia. Because it's just
Yeah.
a different place. It's not
It's a
Australia.
different country.
It's London.
It is.
It's try-hard London.
Yeah, it's not even London. It's try hard. That's exactly it.
Sydney, well, Sydney's bloody Hong Kong these days, but that it's trying to be that.
I prefer that though. I'm not gonna lie.
Me too.
I think in Sydney people are financially pretentious. In Melbourne people are culturally pretentious. But just okay, so Australian culture overall, when people think about Australia, what do they well, a lot of people first of all would say, "Oh, what is Australian culture? Chucking a sickie, going to the beach." It's hard to actually define it. I guess what Australians really value, I think they actually do value like
Laziness.
that, but do they? Because like a lot of the a lot of guys who have physical jobs, they really value the fact that, like, yeah, I'm a hard worker, mate. Get up, just like work as hard as you can.
Do they?
I think so. Yeah. They're not all like if you're a labourer, you can't be that late. You can't be lazy.
You can't be lazy, but if you're a labourer, I would imagine you'd really enjoy knock-off time at 3 p.m.
Yeah, but that's different. You'd still want to kind of. Well, actually.
Okay, what about this?
Don't you think like the group of guys that are in that labour environment would be kind of spurring each other on, saying, "Come on, mate, like."
Step up your game.
Yeah, like, don't be a wuss. All that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Don't be a wuss.
Don't be a wuss.
That's
up there.
That epitomises Australian culture.
And does
Don't
not
be a sook.
epitomise Melbourne. But yes.
No, yeah. Don't be a sook, mate.
Don't be a sook.
Have fun, mate. Don't be a sook, but do have fun. Like if then there was a labourer that was like, I'm working overtime and I'm better than you guys because I'm working overtime, then they'd be like, oh, fuck you, mate.
Yeah, well, that's the other part is tall poppy syndrome. That definitely exists in Australia.
Yeah, a lot of,
there's a real crabs in a barrel mentality here.
The thing with tall poppy syndrome is if people are bringing down people who are just successful for the sake of the fact that they're successful, that's bad. But I think most of the tall poppy syndrome is more tearing down the arrogance that's associated with success. You think? So like someone like, I don't know, Hugh Jackman or sports stars or whatever, Aussies love them.
Aussies definitely love sports stars. But again, as we said, that's an anomaly in Australian culture.
True, yeah.
But that's definitely, that is a real cornerstone of Australian culture is sport.
Yes.
That's absolutely there. So yeah, you're right. They do definitely like successful sportsmen.
Yeah, who don't act like, who aren't arrogant.
Yeah, they hate arrogance. I'm sticking with no. Okay, all right. At least if you're not going to say laziness, at least complacency. I actually don't think that Australians like the concept of success. A lot of Asian countries are obsessed with the concept of succeeding and being at the top and pushing further, and
but
that just doesn't exist in Australia.
When it comes to sport, it does, which is so interesting.
Yeah.
It's probably it's a product of us having been so successful for so long. We don't
in sport.
We've been a first world country for a long time, and the conditions here have been very comfortable. So there probably isn't that need or desire to really strive to better ourselves on the international scale.
Yeah.
Whereas
That's
some of the
true.
Asian countries, because they've been poorer nations for so long, they might have that monkey on their back. And trying to prove to the world, look, we can do this.
You know what I think a lot of that is shaped by?
Speculating now.
No, I think you're right. But I think that a lot of it is just environment.
Sure, yeah.
I think that in cold countries, you work harder. You kind of have to because of the conditions.
True, yeah.
In hot countries... Dude, have you ever been to Fiji?
No.
Everyone between the hours of maybe like 11 till 3 p.m.
Heard of that, yeah.
just can't think.
It's
heard too hot.
In Hawaii, it's the same.
Yeah. You just have
just
this
go
like
on, like,
dumb
a
smile
siesta
on your
type
face.
thing.
You're like, yeah. You go on a siesta. Very little work ever gets done throughout the entire country. And at the end of the day, you don't need to because it's a tropical climate. All you need to do is throw some seeds in the ground and you've got enough food to serve yourself. You know, like really to live there takes very little effort. And I think it is the same in Australia as well, as what you were saying, right? To have a subsistence lifestyle that is decent takes very little effort comparative to, say, Korea or Taiwan.
Yes. And that's a product of the culture in some of those countries. I've talked about this on the podcast so many times, but just when Asians migrate to Western countries, the insistence they have on academic achievement for their children, that is a product of there needing to be that in their home countries, or else you are going to be poor.
Yeah.
You can't even be like a teacher or a tradie in Asian countries without basically... You're going to survive, but...
Not well.
It's nothing compared to Australia.
No.
When Modi visited here, he said Australia, it's the one country in the world where the doctor can live next door to the plumber. You don't even think about that, but that's true.
That's like a Seinfeld bit.
Doesn't happen in other countries.
I know. Pew, 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 pew.
Yeah, that's a good
amazing.
sitcom.
It is. You ever noticed?
The like intellectual
I haven't noticed that, Modi.
Q&A watching doctor next to the plumber.
And that's what happens on Q&A as well now. They have that.
Well, they don't have plumbers on there, do they?
Yeah, sometimes because they just get that everyman to go on Q&A to spout just
They
baseless
don't.
opinions. Yeah,
Well, as an actual guest.
yeah, dude. So they just get like what do
I
they
haven't
call
been
like I don't know
watching.
like audience members or whatever, and it's just like why the fuck are we listening to this person? What do you do again? You're in HR. I don't want to listen to the experts that you have, let alone the like. The worst part about
Probably-
Q&A is the audience. Don't put
Yeah.
them on stage.
I agree with that. The audience are just abysmal.
Terrible.
All their questions are they're just so emotionally loaded. They're not even allowing the expert to answer the question. They've already answered the question and said, "Why do you disagree with that?" Like it's just they've framed the question so that no matter what the expert says, they're going to sound like a bad person.
Yeah.
That's what all the questions.
Yeah,
are
every
like.
time. And on top of that, just dumb as well. Like, yeah, emotionally loaded and not a good point.
Having said that, I think there is some value in having, I guess, what you would call everyman in some of those shows, because otherwise you are at risk of just being in what you call the echo chamber. You only get views
Yeah.
of the intelligentsia, whatever it is.
But it is definitely an echo chamber on the ABC because it's like pre-approved intelligentsia. It's not. No one is ever allowed on Q&A outside the ABC bubble. You have to be
Yeah.
part of that. You have to be part of that old. I don't want to say old boys club because they're not into that, but like that same kind of idea,
Sure.
that like you have to be part of ABC royalty really to get
Why
like
is
a
this?
position
Have you
on
been rejected by Q&A or something? Is this?
that. Yeah, fuck yeah. But the thing is, I
Wait, what-
wouldn't want to, but like I was just making the example the other day on Twitter actually.
Did you actually like try to get on there
No,
or something? Okay.
never realistically. A, because I knew I wouldn't be, but B, because I know how the ABC works and because I've been on other shows there and it's just
Which ones have you been on?
a couple of drive shows and Hack. And so like
When were you on Hack?
years ago.
What did it go- what
Maybe
was
like
the-
2014 or
What was
something.
the topic?
Basically, they came in there to say something about like the lockout laws or whatever, and I was just like, well, this is pretty dumb, but all right, I'll just go on there because it's just
Sure.
another thing for branding or whatever. And then I just went on there, and they were just like, so you paid by the unions? You paid by the unions, aren't you? You paid by Labor? You paid by Labor? Like they didn't ask me anything about it. They just tried to like get me to basically go to their like liberal overlords and be like, see, we're on your side. We're like that. That's how those institutions work. It's very different to what the average Australian thinks it is, but. Really,
That's
when it,
true, because you ask anyone, not even just boomers, you ask pretty much anyone who doesn't watch your videos, what do you think of the ABC? Oh, lefty garbage.
yeah, and it's the design of that. It's the Murdoch press really sells that point so that they can kind of differentiate the two. But in reality, they're really just selling the same message. It's just one selling. Dude, one is selling the message to those working class people that want to renovate their house, and the other one is selling that message to the wankers that retire in Hobart. That's the real difference between the two. But yeah, like to make the point of the the Q&A point, right? Like everyone was going ape shit because people from the IPA is just this think tank that is pretty much just BP, cigarettes. That's pretty much it. Like the most evil companies you can think of, Serco, just every evil corporation on earth has this think tank that goes under the usual guise of just being like, we're libertarian, we believe in freedom. But every time that there's like a cigarette tariff or something like that, yeah, we want that, But like, in general, no regulations on cigarettes at all. That like really niche of views that no one has unless you're like a tobacco company, and they are 70% of the think tank guests that they have on like the Drum and Q&A and the drive shows and stuff, right? And they're all from that, and it's because Murdoch sponsors that think tank.
Where do we find out this information? Like what independent sources?
Oh, if you just Google search IPA, there's so much information on them because they are really the brains behind the Liberal Party. And the brains behind the IPA is a bunch of cigarette companies and fossil fuel companies.
Okay.
And Murdoch. Murdoch's dad set it up. they're 70% of it, right? And everyone was going apeshit, just being like, why the fuck are they on all the time? And then their like piss weak response as always is just like, well, we just get views of everybody on there. So they get niche views of tobacco and alcohol and fossil fuels. That's one of the views, right? So I was just making the point that like, okay, if that's the case, why don't you let me on? I have 400,000 people. My views are are the actual mainstream opinions. Like the average Australian does not want their hospital system sold to Chinese billionaires. You know, like everyone from Pauline Hanson to the Greens would agree with that. Most of my views are like down the line mainstream opinions, like no privatization of Medicare, you know? There should be a tax on our mining resources that we can invest in roads, those kind of things.
You won't be able to get on now.
Exactly.
After everything you said.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other point, right? Like, you could say that maybe it's just they're attacking their ego or whatever. I don't even think it's that. I think definitely, like, they have huge egos and you attack their egos and they're like, somebody thinks bad of me. I think that's the other thing. But
you
I
were
think
also rejected and did you get butthurt?
when I was rejected, no, I've never been rejected from Q&A. There was other ones, like, I was just making that point basically to say, like, they're not going to have someone on that expresses these views, but they will have the IPA on. That's how removed they are from the average Australian and, like, you know, reflecting, or not even reflecting views, just telling Australians important information. They'll freely talk about basically BHP's position or like BP's position on things. They won't talk about what the average Australian wants for society.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen on the ABC.
Okay, fair enough.
Still, it hurt.
All rejection does, you know.
No, but like...
I wouldn't do it if I was asked.
Why?
I just don't think I'd...
have anything to say?
I don't want to. I don't
Dude,
really...
You wouldn't be the dumbest person on Q&A by a long shot.
That's true, but I just don't want to do it.
Why?
I'm not interested in being on a show of that kind of nature.
Actually, I understand what you mean because I wouldn't be either. I just find it wanky and irritating.
Well, not any show like the drama or anything like that. I just...
Yeah, because they're all
I got asked
annoying.
to do Hack once or twice.
Did you?
Yeah.
What was it on?
I can't remember. The first one was
it
years
like
ago.
being a brown comedian?
And then the second one was something like that. And I was just like, I just don't want to do it.
Thank you. It's the same shit. How long has that been? Like 5 years? The same 3 topics over and over again.
Yeah.
Drugs, racism, sexism. Ooh, let's just vary it up a bit. Transphobia. Ooh.
If it was a good topic, if it was
shit.
like a...
But they never have them.
Yeah.
What is the good topics that they ever... Have you ever listened to Hack? It's infuriating. They have dumb subjects, like just... I would remember listening to one because I was like paying it out. Turned it on instantly. The first thing was just being like, let's unpack this with a young liberal in the studio. Let's unpack this. What are your views on shaking a woman's hand if you're a man? Is that sexist? Not a joke.
Jesus.
They talked about that for 15 minutes.
Why would that be sexist?
They didn't even have an answer. That's how stupid this show is. Like, there was just all these people with very nervous opinions.
Shaking a woman's...
Yeah. Why were they talking about it?
Why is that sexist?
I don't know.
I'm
I
trying
don't
to just
know.
think, like, maybe you could make an argument that hugging a woman, if depending on where your hands go,
Is that what it...
could be, but shaking her hand... What?
I know. Can you ever imagine discussing that? Okay, say we had to come up with half an hour of content
Jesus
a
Christ.
day. Do you think we would ever get to that? No, because the whole time we'd be sitting there being like, have you read the game? Have you read the rules of the game?
Yeah,
So
it would be like,
exact
how to
opposite.
shake a woman's hand. Pull it towards... Take that out of context.
Yeah, you're right. It's probably like
Show
a
her that
bad
you got a
sample,
firm grip. But don't scare her. I don't know. I don't know how to shake her. I don't know. But all right. Well, we won't get too caught up on the ABC and whatever. But,
Sorry.
No, that's all good. That's all good. Okay. What other like facets of if someone asked you like, okay, how would you just describe Australian culture other than what we've already talked about? Is there anything else you think that you'd mention?
You know what I will mention as well? I do actually think that spirit of the Anzac is somewhat true. I think that Australians are, in general, good mates.
But see, a lot of those I don't know whether they're cliches or not, but those sometimes very simplistic talking points when the media or public figures talk about Australian culture, are they really unique to Australia? Like, oh, looking out for a mate, sticking together.
Yeah.
Like all these things. What?
It's not.
That's everyone wants to do that, don't they?
Does America? Not really. I don't think
If you-
Americans are very good friends.
But if you asked just the individual American, like, hey, do you care about your mates or friends or buddies? I don't know, whatever they call it in America, they'd say yes.
They would say yes, and obviously these things are just broad brushes, and not everyone has that. Not every Australian's lazy and all that kind of stuff.
Like having a fair go. What does that
this
even
is just
mean?
a general. It has to be general though, because you're talking about like 25 people or 300 million people. But
Of course, yeah.
no, I think fair go is actually also like a thing that's definitely in here, because like all the things that Bernie Sanders is pushing for, Australia passed in the 80s. I think Australians inherently have this very Aussie value of kind of like fair is fair.
Do you think
I
that comes
exists.
from because, just the convict heritage? It was generally lower class
Yeah.
British people that came,
Yeah.
so they would have experienced the aristocracy and the crown imposing all their, imposing the authority on them. So they said, okay, we're going to change that here.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah?
definitely.
Okay.
Because I think that in Britain there is an overriding sense that's
It's a much
almost
greater
like-
class distinction.
much greater class distinction. I think, and look, it's definitely prevalent in India and Pakistan. India and Pakistan society is just like a really frozen in time 1850s England. And like most Asian countries have that as well, but in Britain there still is this kind of because dude, think about it, politeness. They're really into politeness, and I think all of this is
Upper
about
class British.
Yeah,
Go to the Cockney bars, they're not polite.
that's true. That's true.
And they're more fun.
Well,
Politeness is
Cockneys
boring.
are like the funnest white people there are. Maybe
Oh, yeah.
Irish as well. They've got some swag.
That's true.
But
Bogans are fun.
Bogans
They
are
can
fun.
be.
Oh, dude, you know what else I was thinking about as well when it comes to that? Hang on, I'll just finish that point though. But I think
Sure,
that
go
English people are very. There's a sense of hierarchy there. When it comes to America, there really is like it is just obvious in their culture. They're really into the idea of the individual. In Australia, there's kind of like this "you're not better than me" attitude. Just fuck you.
Yeah.
Like that it's a much ruder country. Dude, like I remember when I went overseas and I was with my girlfriend's company friends and they were all from all over the world, right? And then I said the word cunt and the entire table just like it was people from Japan, France, there was some
That is a
Australians
very
there, Britain,
uniquely
American.
Australian.
See?
Yeah.
Just swearing and stuff. Like that shows that there's no real level of politeness or respect in this country that exists in Britain.
But if you went to like an upper class Australian household, actually no, they'd still probably be all right with the C word.
I reckon. Because what is an upper class household in Australia? Like someone who works on the board in Foxtel, they'd be cool with that.
Yeah. And you can't tell. You honestly can't tell the difference between, a private school guy who works in the private sector and makes 500 grand a year versus a labourer who makes 50 grand a year.
No,
They're
there's a...
very similar culturally.
Yeah.
Like maybe they probably both watch the footy. They love drinking beer. I would say the lower class guy is more handy and masculine, but no, even in Australia, all the like dudes from the North Shore who are rich, they're all
They
very
know how to
like
fix a car.
buff and they know how to fix things and shit. So there's
Yeah,
it's very homogenous in that way.
It is. And I think that also, I don't even think it's... It might be the thing that they're convicts as well, but I think it's also that a lot of Australians were Irish and Scottish. And Irish people and
okay.
Scottish are a lot more like that than the
Okay.
English are. Like Celts. Celts are different culturally to Anglos.
Yeah, because an upper class Londoner wouldn't need to fix anything around their house. They get the servants to do it.
Yeah. For hundreds of years, maybe thousands.
Yeah.
So I think that's the difference there. So I think that like when it comes to mateship, I'm guessing that the thing that I'm saying there is like in Britain, there is everybody likes their friends, right? Everybody to a degree talks to a stranger differently than they would somebody that they know well. But I think in Australia, that distinction is very different. Like, dude, in some countries like Korea, the way you speak to a stranger is a different language. You use different words when you speak to there's like a way that you're supposed to
okay.
speak. There's like 3 different languages, you know? Like there's like a really poetic, respectful language. Then there's just like a mid-tier language. And then there's a language you use with your friends. That doesn't really exist in Australia.
Not at
And
all.
in Britain, it's a bit like that. Like if you're talking to someone like
Closer to
more
that
up,
than
you're like
Australia.
more polite, huh?
Sure, yeah.
And so that doesn't really exist there. Like
Yeah.
in America, America's a very selfish society.
But it's
They're
also
kind
very
of trained to be
Christian.
like hyper competitive, and that's true. But
It
even
depends.
then,
It
even then, dude, like they're the ones that came up with fucking mega churches and shit like that. It's not.
sure, yeah.
It's not the same as those local churches in Cronulla or whatever.
Americans are also very like I think from a distance we think oh they've all got guns and they're obsessed with the individual and making money, but in my experience talking to them and just mingling with them, they're very friendly people.
Yeah, they are.
Sometimes more because Aussies can sometimes come across as a bit standoffish in the way like, yeah, how you going, mate? Yeah, I'm good, not bad. Yeah, cool. What are you after? Like if you go to just your average shop, that's all. Look, in America they rely on tips, so they have to be nicer. But the hospitality in America is generally nicer than in Australia, and it's mainly
Well,
because
I
of
reckon
the
that's the
tips.
economic incentive. Yeah. Oh, and also,
The
yeah,
tips is a
it
big
is
thing,
a
yeah.
more polite
So it's
society.
hard to judge.
But politeness is also linked to how violent your culture is. Apparently, that's like a direct link around the planet.
So what if it's more violent? It's more polite.
It's more polite to try and remove the need for violence.
It definitely makes sense with Britain in the past.
Mm.
They were out slaughtering native populations, but then they were like, "Oh, say good morning to you.
Not
Good,
cricket.
sir.
Yeah.
Use the correct pronunciation." I just read
And
a bit-
hierarchical
was it-
societies.
I read that play. You know Pygmalion?
Yeah.
I read that play. It's all about that.
Oh,
they're
just
trying
like
to teach
teaching
her-
etiquette.
Yeah,
Mm.
teach this flower girl etiquette, and she's like a massive cockney. I fucking know what you're doing, ain't I love that accent. That's a great accent.
They're all great, I reckon. Like I like upper class. I like Cockney. I like Birmingham's a bit fucked. Most of them are pretty good though.
Every little city there has a different accent.
Yeah. But they're kind of charming, all of them though.
Yeah, they have their charm.
Like the Postman Pat accent's mad. They're all, yeah, they're good.
Yeah, and where would just briefly, because I know we're I've got to finish this one up soon, but in my brief experience in New Zealand, in Auckland in particular, I was like, this is England. This is 100% England. Even the sense with the comedy there, the sense of humor is very British, except Britain is all about witty humor, but New Zealand it's still very witty, but also slightly more on the
Self-deprecating?
absurdist and a bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, like Flight of the Conchords could only come from New Zealand. That Flight of the Conchords and that Murray guy. What's his name? Murray is his name's Murray in the show, but you know who I'm talking about. That kind of humor is very, very New Zealand.
What's Australian humour? Like, actually, you know what? I will say I do like Kiwi humour. They are funny.
I actually
But I
think
think
Australian
Aussies are
humor
funny
is
too.
closer to American humor.
What do you
American
mean?
humor is more it's character based, it's loud, it's opinionated. It has elements of wit, but British humor it's all wit. If you look at all the famous British comedians, they're much more similar than American comedians. Look at the famous American comedians; they're vastly different. Whereas you look at a lot of the British comedians, and of course they're still different, but the differences are less pronounced. Stylistically, the subject matter, everything. It's not as varied as it is in America.
And more critical. I think
Yeah.
that's actually something that happens in Britain as well. It's just very sardonic.
And even just if you look at American audiences, Well, I mean, obviously we're just defining culture through the lens of comedy here, but it's really,
Well, that's
it's
a
really
good
relevant
reflection.
because the
Yeah.
audiences in America are extremely generous.
Mm.
They give standing ovations really easily. They'll laugh very easily. Look, I don't know what the audiences are like in the southern states or whatever. I am only talking about New York and LA. So it's very likely if you go to whatever, I don't know, Louisiana or something, the audiences will be like, hey,
I don't know, man.
fuck,
Bill
liberal
Maher says-
comedian, mate. Fuck
No,
this guy.
Bill Maher says that they're mad.
Oh, well,
He
there you
says
go.
that the South's really good.
Okay, well, yeah, well, I haven't been there. But yes, British and Australian audiences. But you know what it is? It's because when you are a comedian, you are definitely you're in a position of authority, and you are. The subtext is essentially, I am better than you. Listen to me. Laugh at me. Give me attention.
No, it can also be like, I'm way worse than you. It actually,
Yes,
that's the variance.
but
of it.
it's still. Well, one, that's why self-deprecating comedy goes so well in Australia and America, and there's less of it so well in Australia and the UK and New Zealand, but there's less of it in America.
Yeah.
But even when comedians are just, if a lot of their set is self-deprecating, it's still coming from a place. It's a need for validation. It's a need
Yeah.
for attention,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it is coming from it's coming from their ego wanting to get up on stage and ask for that attention, essentially, even if it is self-deprecating.
That's all art.
True.
All art is just like an extension of the ego. But, well, actually, I think the best art is kind of just removed from that. But I think, actually, you are actually right. Like, I think comedians you look up to, clowns you look down on. But the thing is, there's no such thing as a clown anymore. So clowns are just a type of comedian now. Like someone like Dave Hughes, who's just, his entire shtick is more or less making fun of himself. Like, he doesn't make fun of the audience. a lot.
Changing now, I think.
Is it?
Well, he talks a lot. He's been talking about like all the properties he owns and stuff. Maybe he's getting sick of it. I don't know. And the Hughesy, we have a problem. I mean, he's like the head guy there, and he's saying, "I will fix your problems." And that's coming from a place of authority.
Unless you're like, I don't know what the show's like. I'm a bit like, if it's tongue in cheek and just being like, yeah, I'll sort it out.
yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah, the veneer and the sort of the layer that you get from that style of comedian is definitely like, I'm on your level, I'm on your wavelength.
yeah.
It's never, oh, listen to me from this place of authority.
I think the best comedians are a combination of those things, and that's why I think that I'm really... You know how we get around that?
Yeah.
Is because it's just our character comedy, so we kind of just switch in and out of just like doing a mimic of being a clown. But I
Sure.
think that the best comedians are like your Louis C.K.'s that are sort of half clown, half comedian. They're a bit of a hybrid of it. Like a lot
true.
of things in Louis C.K.'s stand-up show, you're always just like really looking down on him. He's inviting you to look down on him.
Yeah.
But then a lot of the other times he's like extremely judgmental and like makes distinct commentary points.
And you're more open to that because you're not feeling standoffish because he's simply coming from a place of, I'm better than you. He's already built that connection there by saying, "Hey, look, I've got flaws too." So then you're more receptive to what he does have to say when it's opinionated.
Yeah. And it's hard, I think, to make that transition well in and out of that. I don't see
He does
many
it well, though.
comedians that do it. He does it
He
well.
does it really well.
He does it well. All of them do it. It's the same with Trump as well. It's really...
He does, doesn't he?
It's the top of the game is sort of that.
Yeah, being self-aware enough to laugh at yourself, to be self-deprecating.
But it's
And
also...
also having charm and confidence and conviction when you do say something that's opinionated and
like,
critical.
Yeah, but the thing is that, like, someone like Bill Maher or Jerry Seinfeld, like, if they tried to be self-deprecating, I think it'd just come off as disingenuous. I think some people, you just...
Bill definitely. Seinfeld's got a few self-deprecating jokes, doesn't he?
Does he? Dude, isn't his whole thing just being like, how stupid's this? Like, that's... I think, isn't it?
True, but he... Yeah,
I don't
you've
listen
got
to him that
you've
much.
got a good point. But for whatever reason, when passionately, passionately stating political opinions, which is what Bill Maher does, versus passionately stating opinions about very mundane, everyday things. I don't like. It's so much harder to come across arrogant, don't you think?
Well,
If Seinfeld's being like, "Oh, what's the deal with four-wheel drives? All cars have four wheels." He is still coming from a place of, "Look, I'm smart, and this is why this thing is stupid." But Bill Maher saying like, "And this is why Republicans are stupid people."
Stupid.
Like that's why that instantly comes off as more arrogant than what Seinfeld's. Don't get me wrong, I love Bill Maher. I think he's fantastic.
but yeah, he well, actually, you know what? They made that distinction because they were talking about that once when they was on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, and they came to the conclusion that Bill Maher is arrogant and Jerry Seinfeld is smug. And I think that's pretty much the difference.
Yeah, that's a good way.
Don't you reckon?
Yeah.
He's kind of just got this vibe of extreme self-satisfaction.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. I didn't think about it that way.
But I think that, like, yeah, if you, in Australia, I mean, obviously I have carved out a niche of being extremely arrogant. But I don't think that that's, you really can't appeal to a mainstream audience in Australia being arrogant. You're never going to be one of those big ticket. I think you have to be a bit of a clown to be the top in Australia. Like, think about
Alan
it, Carl
Jones is
Barron.
pretty arrogant. Are we talking just about
Well,
comedians?
that's political commentary, yeah.
Oh, and just comedians, yeah.
Like, who's arrogant that's a big... Dude, even like Judith Lucy and stuff, they're all clownish. They're all just like, I'm a massive loser.
You gotta
Carl
have both.
Barron,
Yeah.
Dave Hughes. You say that he's like changed or whatever, but like the thing that made him big was him just talking about the fact that he used to be a junkie, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Who else is big?
Maybe in our generation of comedians, it'll change.
Will Anderson's pretty fucking arrogant.
Yeah, but he doesn't really appeal to
Mainstream Australia.
Yeah, he has a big audience, but I
It's all
don't know
Melbourne-y.
if it's a bit more middle to upper middle class.
Yeah.
Yeah, Melbourne-y. That's a good that's a good way of describing.
See, that's the thing. I think that's a massive difference from Britain and Australia. Like, in Britain and Australia, they do look up to arrogant people.
If they're saying the right things, then yeah.
If they're saying the right thing. Like, there's obviously a lot of caveats with that. Like, have they earned the position to be arrogant in
Yes.
the first place? There's all that.
Sure.
But yeah, in Australia, again, because it's that tall
They
poppy thing
value
that we were
wit.
talking about. They hate that.
British people value wittiness and just the cleverness.
The underdog, dude. You know what else? I remember this. Actually, I think it was Gervais that was talking about it when he was talking about the difference between America and... Might have been Gervais. Anyway, he was saying that in America there's kind of like this idolization of the rock star.
Yeah.
That there's this winners. America loves winners. Britain likes laughing at losers, he was saying. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Wow.
Like looking down on them. They like that.
Wow, look at Mr. Bean.
But I think that in
Mr.
Australia...
Bean is just collective bullying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Laugh at this
Yeah.
loser.
Laugh at this loser.
Damn.
And that was like one of the most successful ones of all time. Like you can make the same argument with Fawlty Towers.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to, and absolutely fabulous as well, but when it comes to Australia, I think that the thing that defines us differently is we actually like losers. They don't like losers. Britain doesn't like them. Australia likes the fact that they're like an underdog. They're just like, yeah, he's scum like we are. Australia has a low
I agree with
opinion of
that.
itself.
I do, yeah. Yeah, we're an insecure nation.
We are.
People. Because, well then we've got to wrap this up, but like you can get into an argument about the validity of IQ nowadays or whatever. But the average IQ in Australia is not too dissimilar to the average IQ in the UK and America. But just the vernacular and the level of articulation of the average Australian compared to the average American or British person is far less.
Yeah.
Because we're so worried about coming across as
A
an
dickhead.
arrogant asshole.
Don't like that. That's the cardinal sin in Australia. And that's why I think that there is a real... I think that really... Like, okay, apart from the fact of the environmental factors that we were talking about and the cultural aspect of the fact that like those environmental factors have allowed us to succeed for so long. I really think that that's another reason why Australia is just a really complacent country. Just that fact. It's not so much like tall poppy syndrome, as you said, it punishes arrogance, but it's also the fact that we idolize mediocrity. Not even mediocrity, like losers. We idolize
Do we
them.
though? Like, where's an
Like,
example?
think
of
about,
that? Like, if you
think about the national fucking heroes, right? It's like Ned Kelly.
Actually, he's an outlaw.
Chopper, Ned Kelly, fucking
Donald
Shane
Bradman,
Warne.
though.
Don Badman's kind of a gentleman, that's
Very,
true.
very.
Dude,
good
Farlap
cricketer.
is a fucking, like, he's an animal is one of our heroes. An
Never
animal.
thought of that. Jesus.
Simpson's
Ned
donkey?
Kelly was like a criminal.
He's a criminal.
What do you think is in our consciousness that makes us value someone like Ned Kelly? Is it because he went against authority and Australia, especially back then, was very anti-authoritarian? Do you think that's what it was, or do you think it was just the fact that he was the original sick cunt?
Yeah, I think it's the fact that, it's a bit of the fact that he's like he's a
fucking
bad
stole
cunt.
Jumbuck. What a fucking sick cunt, eh?
There's a bit of, but dude, you know what else I think it actually is? There's a myth. I don't know too much about Ned Kelly's history. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But there's this myth of, dude, it's the fair go shit. Like he's kind of a Robin Hood figure. He stole from banks,
okay.
gave the money to poor Irish
stole
people
from
that were
banks,
gonna get
did
it.
he?
Yeah.
I know.
So I think that was the reason that people think he's sick.
Okay.
And I think,
There you
dude, when it
go,
comes
that
to
makes
Chopper
a bit
Reed,
of
they're just
sense.
like, he's a funny cunt. Like Chopper Reed is a hero to Australia.
And he is also he was a criminal.
Yeah. But he's kind of got, and look, every criminal ever says this. I don't know how true it is, but he's just been like, I never did anything to anyone that didn't fucking deserve it. So
True.
but
Yeah.
they'll at
Australians
least
get on
accentuate that
board
point.
with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even if it's not true, they'll say that that's awesome. But those aren't the heroes of Britain and the US.
Not at all. All right. Well, we better wrap this one up.
Yeah.
Subscribe if you haven't already.
Yeah.
Follow us on our socials. Follow me on TikTok.
What numbers are you at now?
215,000.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I'm beating all the Aussie comedians now. Beating Frenchie, Alex,
Take
Isaac,
that, Frenchie.
Luke Lewis. I'm number one.
How does it feel? Just after an hour of how much Australians hate arrogance.
But because it's on such it's on TikTok, which is almost like a joke platform. I think people will be like, yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it
Fucking
is
sick
mad.
cat
Like,
with his fucking TikTok followers, eh? No, but there are actual
Dude, I'm
Aussie
proud of
TikTok
it.
comedians on that are just purely on TikTok. They've got a lot more than I do. But anyway, cool. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.
Toodaloo.